there is a sound I can still hear if I sit quietly enough. It is the window air conditioner in my mother's back bedroom, switching on in the middle of a July night. A soft thump, then a hum that settled into the room like a second kind of quiet. That machine was put in when I was a boy. My mother was still running it the summer she turned 80. It was beige, it was ugly, it blocked half the window, and it was still moving heat out of that room after more than 20 years. Last summer, I sat in a different room with a portable air conditioner going in the corner. 4 years old, running hard, running loud, and the room was warm. Same job, same size room, completely different ending. I want to tell you why, because it is not about brands, and it is not about somebody buying a bad one. It comes down to a decision that was made before either machine left the factory. Once you see it, you will not be able to stop seeing it in any cooling equipment for the rest of your life. My name is Richard Nakamura, and I fixed appliances in other people's homes for 30 years. Now, I am going to spend a good while telling you what is wrong with portable air conditioners. So let me be fair to them first. They work. They genuinely cool a room. There is one in my own house, and later I will tell you where it is and why it is the right machine for that room. But there are real costs, and almost nobody lays those out before you pay. I also promise you the second half of that title. After the problems, I will give you what to do instead in order from best down to last resort, so that whatever your window looks like, there is an answer in here for you. If you are wondering how I know all of this, it is because for 30 years I was the man they called in July when the thing in the window had quit. And recently, I sat down and wrote everything I know about appliances, buying the right ones, repairing them, and keeping them alive. I call it the Complete Appliance Blueprint. You can find it at nakamurasecrets.com or by scanning this QR code with your phone. This video is the short version, that is the long one. Everything in this video comes out of one sentence. Let me give it to you now and then spend the rest of our time showing you what it does. An air conditioner does not make cold. It moves heat. That is the whole thing. There is no cold being manufactured anywhere inside that box. The machine picks up heat energy in one place, carries it to another place, and lets it go there. The cool air coming out of the front is ordinary room air that has had its heat taken out of it and carried off somewhere else. Which means every air conditioner ever built has two halves. There is a cold half, which absorbs heat out of your room. There is a hot half, which dumps that heat back out again. In the trade, we call them the evaporator and the condenser, and sitting between them is a compressor, the pump that drives the whole business around. So you now know the only question that really matters when you look at any cooling machine. Not the brand, not the badge, not the number on the front of the box. Which side of the wall is the hot half on? Hold on to that, because it explains every single thing that follows. Look at what a window unit does with that question. You slide it into the window and the machine straddles the wall. The cold half sits in the room with you. The compressor and the hot half hang outside in the open air, with a block of foam insulation in the middle, keeping one from the other. Heat gets picked up in your bedroom, carried 1.5 feet, and released into your backyard. Nothing else crosses that line. A central system does the same thing more elegantly. The pump and the hot side live in a box outdoors. The cold half sits in the ductwork inside, and two copper lines run between them. That is why the trade calls it a split system. The hot half has been moved as far from you as the plumbing allows. Both designs answer the question the same way. The hot half goes outside. Now look at a portable unit. The whole machine is in the room with you. All of it. The cold half, the compressor, and the hot half sitting on 4 little wheels on your bedroom floor. That heat still has to get outside because that is what an air conditioner is for. So the machine solves it the only way its shape allows. It takes air from inside your room, blows that air across its hot half to carry the heat away, and pushes the now hot air out through the hose in your window. Sit with that for a second because it is a peculiar thing to have designed on purpose. To get rid of the heat, the machine throws your own air out of the window, air you have already paid to cool. Which brings the first real cost, and it is the one people feel without being able to name it. Air cannot vanish. If that machine is pushing hundreds of cubic feet of air out of your window every hour, then exactly that much air is coming back into your house from somewhere else. There is no third option. Your house is not a sealed jar. So the room goes slightly negative in pressure, and your house begins refilling itself through every gap it has got. Around the doors, down the chimney, under the front door, through every place a house breathes. What comes in is the 95-degree afternoon you were trying to get away from. That is the trick of the whole thing. A single hose portable is not only pulling heat out of your room, it is pulling the air out too, and hot air walks in behind it to take the place of what left. The machine is fighting itself, and you are paying for both sides of the fight. Now let me give you something you can use this week, because this part will change how you shop. Go and look at the box of any portable air conditioner in a store. You will find 2 different cooling numbers printed on it, and they will not agree with each other. One is large and impressive. The other is smaller and lower, usually sitting nearby in finer print. The big number is the ASHRAE rating, measured in laboratory conditions that are kind to the machine. The smaller number is the SACC rating. That stands for Seasonally Adjusted Cooling Capacity, and it comes from the Department of Energy. It is measured at realistic temperatures, and this is the important part. It accounts for exactly what I just described to you. It accounts for the hot air being drawn back into your house. The gap between those 2 figures generally runs somewhere between 25 and 45%. The reason both numbers are on that box at all is that the Federal Trade Commission requires it. Somebody looked at this situation, concluded that buyers were being misled by a single, flattering figure, and made the manufacturers print the honest one right alongside it. So the rule is simple. On a portable, the SACC number is the machine. The ASHRAE number is the advertisement. Size your room off the smaller one, and a portable will never disappoint you again, because you will have bought what it actually does. The next cost turns up every month. There is a measurement of how much cooling you get for the electricity you put in. It is called CEER, higher is better, and it is printed on the yellow tag. The average window air conditioner sits at about 12. The most common figure for a portable is about 7.9. At the top end, the best window units reach into the 17s, while the best portables struggle to reach 11. Let me put that another way, because that is a lot of numbers at once. For the same electricity, a window unit does roughly half again as much work. There is a fact underneath this that I found genuinely striking. To earn an Energy Star label, a room air conditioner has to reach a SEER of 9. The average portable air conditioner sold in this country cannot clear that bar. It is not that it fails narrowly. The typical machine is not in the running. Across a summer, the gap between the two comes to somewhere between $50 and $150 on your electricity bill. Every summer. Same room, same temperature. Now the cost that nobody mentions in the store, and it is the one people write to me about afterwards. Remember where the compressor is. On a window unit, it is outside on the far side of a block of insulation, hanging over your flower bed. On a portable, the compressor is standing on the floor of your bedroom, 4 feet from your pillow. A window unit typically measures somewhere around 40 to 50 decibels inside the room. A portable typically runs 50 to 60. Decibels are a strange scale, and those two figures look closer together on paper than they sound at 2 in the morning. But the raw number is not really the problem. The problem is the change. A portable running only its fan is fairly quiet. Then the thermostat calls for cooling. The compressor kicks in, and a second fan starts up to push heat out through the hose. It goes from quiet to loud in an instant. Then it satisfies the room, shuts down, goes quiet again, and 20 minutes later, it does the whole thing over. All night. Quiet, loud, quiet, loud. A window unit cycles too, but the noisy half of it is outside in the dark where it belongs. On many of them, the same motor drives both fans, so the only thing that actually changes is the compressor. It is a far gentler difference to sleep through. If the machine is going in a bedroom, this matters more than any specification on the box. Nobody ever returned an air conditioner because of its CEER rating. People return them because they cannot sleep. A smaller one now, but it is nearly free to fix. Put your hand on the exhaust hose of a portable while it is running. It is hot, properly hot. That is all the heat the machine just worked to collect, traveling through a thin plastic tube with no insulation on it at all, across your bedroom floor. A good share of it comes straight back off that hose into the room, leaking back inside before it ever reaches the window. Wrapping the hose costs a few dollars, and it is one of the genuinely free wins here. Now, the part I am better placed to tell you than most people making videos about this, because this was my trade for 30 years. What happens when it breaks? A window unit is a simple machine, and its parts are ordinary parts. A fan motor, a capacitor, a thermostat, a control board on the newer ones. Those are stocked items. Any appliance shop can get them. I have brought a lot of window units back from the dead for the price of a capacitor and half an hour of my time. A portable is a different story, and it is not really the manufacturer being wicked. It is the shape of the thing. Everything is packed into one tall, narrow cabinet, very tightly, because the whole point is that it rolls through a doorway. And the refrigerant circuit inside is sealed. If the fault is electrical, you are sometimes lucky. If the fault is in the sealed system, if the machine has lost its refrigerant, then it needs a licensed technician with recovery equipment. And by law, you cannot do that yourself. Here is what happens in practice. Most shops will not take the job. The labor to open, repair, evacuate, and recharge a sealed system on a small portable comes to about what a new portable costs. So they say no, and honestly, they are right to. That is the arithmetic nobody puts on the box. Most portable air conditioners are not repairable in any way that makes financial sense. They are consumables. The lifespans bear it out. A portable typically gives you around 7 years. A window unit averages 8 to 10, and a well-kept one runs far past that. My mother's went 20-something. It is also about to get harder. The refrigerants are changing. New machines are built with R32 and with R290, which is propane. both far kinder to the atmosphere than what came before. Both are also flammable, and technicians need fresh training and certification to handle them. That is progress, and I am in favor of it. But it means the number of people willing to open a cheap, sealed machine gets smaller, not larger. All right, I have been hard on these things for a while, so let me be straight with you about the other side, because there is one, and it is real. There is a portable air conditioner in my house. It is in the room over the garage. That room has a casement window, the kind that cranks outward on a hinge. There is no sill to rest a unit on, no sash to hold one down, and nothing to bolt to that I would trust with 60 pounds of metal hanging over a driveway. I looked at that window for a long time. The portable is the correct machine for that room, and I am not the least bit embarrassed about it. Plenty of you are in the same position. If your lease forbids a window unit, if your building association will not permit anything hanging off the face of it, if your windows crank outward or slide sideways, if you cannot safely lift a heavy unit into a window frame and there is nobody to help you, which, for a good number of you watching, is simply the honest situation. In every one of those cases, the portable is not a mistake. It is the machine that fits your life, and a cool room beats a hot room every day of the week. None of this is me telling you to feel foolish about the one in your corner. It is me making sure that whatever you buy knowing what it does. Which brings us to the second half of the title, What to Do Instead. The whole answer turns out to be that same question from the beginning, asked over and over. How far outside can you get the hot half? Every rung on this ladder is the same idea, done a little less well than the rung above it. First and best, get the hot half all the way outside. That means anything with a genuine outdoor unit. If you have central air, that is already what you have. If you do not, the machine to ask about is a mini split. Its pump and hot side live in a small box outdoors, on a bracket or a pad. A quiet blower goes on your wall inside, and two thin refrigerant lines pass through a hole about 3 inches across. No air is thrown out of your house at all. They are the most efficient thing in this video by a wide margin, dramatically quieter than everything else here, and they run for many years. They cost more up front and need a professional to install and charge them. That is the trade you are making. Second, a window unit, which is really a mini split for people who cannot cut a hole in a wall. Same principle, cruder execution. The noisy hot end hangs outside, the cold half is inside, and the wall itself does the separating. That is precisely why it beats a portable on every measure that costs you money. Now, the two complaints about window units have always been that they are ugly and they are loud. Both used to be fair, and both are less fair than they were. There is a shape of window unit now that is built like a saddle in the form of a letter U, where the window sash closes down through the middle of the machine. The glass ends up sitting between you and the compressor and works as a sound barrier. The quiet ones run in the low 30s on the decibel scale, which is properly quiet. And because they are inverter machines, they are considerably more efficient than the old-fashioned sort as well. If you wrote off window units years ago over noise, that is the one to see now. A note for the casement and slider people, since I am one of you. There are window units built tall and narrow, made specifically for crank-out and sliding windows. They are never on the front display, and most people have never laid eyes on one. If your window shape is the reason you gave up on a window unit, ask for a casement or vertical unit by that name before you settle for anything else. Third, if it truly has to be a portable, buy the dual hose. 2 hoses instead of 1. The first brings outside air in to carry heat off the hot half. The second pushes that air straight back out again. Your room air is left alone entirely. No air gets stolen from your house, so no hot air is pulled in to replace it. And the entire problem I spent the first half of this video describing largely goes away. A dual hose unit uses somewhere between 20 and 40% less electricity than a single hose machine of the same rating. They are harder to find because one hose is easier to fit and cheaper to build, and shops stock what moves. Ask for one anyway. Fourth and last resort, a single hose portable, sealed properly. If this is where you have landed, and for a good number of you it will be, do not despair, because you can take a real bite out of the problem. I made a whole video about how to do it. The short version is this. You cannot change the physics. That machine is going to pull replacement air in no matter what you do. But you get to decide where the replacement air comes from. Seal that flimsy accordion window panel properly at both ends, along the sliding sections, and at the gap beside the window latch that almost everybody misses. Then the air refilling your room gets pulled out of the rest of your house at 75 degrees instead of off the street at 95. Same machine, same setting, same bill, completely different afternoon. After that, insulate the hose, keep it short and as straight as you can manage, and shut the door of the room. So there is your ladder. Outdoor unit, window unit, dual hose, single hose sealed. In that order every time. Let me leave you with the thing sitting underneath all of this. The portable air conditioner is not a poor machine because it was poorly made. It is a compromised machine because it was built to solve a problem that was never really about cooling. It was built so that nothing has to hang out of your window, nothing has to be installed, and nothing has to be bolted to anything. It is convenience, and you pay for it in July, every July, in electricity and in noise and in the shorter life of the thing. Sometimes that is a fair trade, and you should make it with your eyes open. Often it is not, and the ugly beige box in the window is the better machine, and it always was. I think about my mother's air conditioner more than a man probably should. It was not clever. It had 2 knobs on the front. By any modern standard, it was an unattractive object bolted into the back of a decent house. It worked every summer for more than 20 years, and when it finally needed something, the part cost very little and took me 20 minutes to fit. She never once called it a good machine. She simply never had to think about it. That is what a good machine is. My grandmother had a word for choosing the thing you can keep and mend over the thing that is only built to be thrown away. Motainai. It means nothing good should ever be wasted, not the machine in your window, and not the knowing of how to keep it.